A hidden fortune in your pocket. The world of rare coins is full of surprises, with some ordinary-looking coins turning out to be worth life-changing sums of money. One of the most shocking discoveries in numismatic history involved a 1987 1-cent coin that sold for an astronomical price at auction. While millions of pennies were minted that year, a rare variation has become one of the most valuable in existence, fetching millions of dollars due to its unique errors, composition, and historical significance. Could you have one of these valuable pennies in your possession without realizing it? What makes the 1987 1-cent coin so special? Let's take a deep dive into the history, errors, and incredible value of this rare coin. The 1987 1-cent coin, a product of a U.S. mint. A 1987 1-cent coin was part of the long-running Lincoln cent series, first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. The design, created by Victor David Brenner, features Lincoln's profile on the obverse front and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse back, a design introduced in 1959 WY 1987. Billions of these pennies had been minted, making them one of the most common coins in circulation. However, among the billions produced, a small number of rare and valuable error coins were struck by mistake, turning them into hidden treasures. Why are some 1987 pennies worth millions? Not every 1987 penny is valuable, but some have rare errors and unique characteristics that make them highly desirable to collectors. The 1987 penny that sold for millions of dollars had a combination of features that made it an extraordinary find. Point 1. Struck on the wrong planchet. One of the most important factors in determining a coin's rarity is the type of planchet, metal blank, it was struck on. Most 1987 pennies were made from zinc with a thin copper coating, a standard composition introduced in 1982. However, some were accidentally struck on bronze planchets, which had been officially discontinued years earlier. These bronze planchet pennies weigh 3.11 grams instead of the standard 2.5 grams for 1987 cents. This weight difference is a crucial factor in identifying these rare coins. Point 2. Double die obverse, DDO, error. Another feature that makes certain 1987 pennies extremely valuable is the double die obverse, DDO, error. This occurs when the coin's design is accidentally struck twice, creating a ghost-like, overlapping effect. In rare cases, this results in a noticeable doubling on the date, the letters Liberty, or even Lincoln's profile. Collectors highly seek after DDO coins, and those with strong doubling effects can sell for enormous amounts. Point 3. Off-center strike. Some 1987 pennies were struck off-center, meaning the design does not appear in the correct position on the coin. The more dramatic the misalignment, the rarer and more valuable the coin becomes. Some off-center 1987 pennies with 50% or more misalignment have been sold for tens of thousands of dollars. Point 4. Transitional error. A few 1987 pennies are believed to be transitional errors, meaning they were struck using older dies or leftover materials from previous years. These coins often have a different color, weight, or even a slightly different font in their inscriptions, making them stand out from regular 1987 pennies. The incredible discovery of the multi-million-dollar 1987 penny, the most valuable 1987 penny, was discovered by a coin collector who had been searching for rare coins for years. The coin was found in a jar of old change, where it had been sitting unnoticed for decades. At first, the collector thought it was just another ordinary penny. However, after weighing on a digital scale, he realized something was off. The penny was heavier than a normal 1987 cent. Upon further examination under a magnifying glass, he noticed doubling on the letters and an unusual surface texture, indicating that it might be a rare error coin. Realizing the potential value of the find, the collector sent the coin to Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, one of the most reputable coin authentication companies in the world. After thorough testing, experts confirmed that the coin was a genuine bronze planchet error with a double die obverse, making it an ultra-rare piece. Once news of the discovery spread, collectors and investors lined up to bid for the coin at auction. After an intense bidding war, the final price reached an unbelievable $5 million, setting a new record for a modern U.S. penny. Other rare 1987 pennies that could be worth a fortune, while the $5 million penny is the most famous. Several other 1987 pennies with errors and rare characteristics have sold for high prices. Point 1. 1987 off-metal strike on a dime planchet. Some 1987 pennies were mistakenly struck on dime planchets, making them significantly smaller and lighter than regular cents. These errors are incredibly rare, and some have sold for over $50,000 at auction. Point 2. 1987 off-center penny with full date. A few 1987 pennies were struck with an off-center error but still display the full date and lettering. These coins, depending on the degree of misalignment, can sell for $10,000 to $100,030. 1987 silver penny error. There are reports of 1987 pennies struck on silver planchets, possibly due to leftover blanks from previous years. If authenticated, these coins could be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. How to check if you have a rare 1987 penny? With so many rare and valuable 1987 pennies out there, it's worth checking your loose change or coin collections for hidden treasures. Here's how to identify a valuable 1987 penny. 1. Check the weight. Use a precision scale to weigh your penny. A standard 1987 penny weighs 2.5 grams, while an off-metal or bronze error may weigh 3.11 grams or more. Point 2. Look for doubling. Examine the coin under magnification to see if there is noticeable doubling on the letters or numbers. Point 3. Inspect for off-center strikes. If the design is misaligned but still has a full date, it could be valuable. Point 4. Test for different metal compositions. A magnet test can sometimes reveal if the coin was struck on an unusual metal planchet. Point 5. Check mint marks. Some rare 1987 pennies have missing or unusual mint marks, which can increase their value. The future of rare coin collecting. The discovery of rare and valuable pennies like the 1987 1-cent coin proves that numismatic treasures are still out there, waiting to be found. With modern technology and increased interest in coin collecting, more people are searching through their spare change in hopes of striking it rich. If you're lucky enough to find a rare 1987 penny, you could be holding $1 million fortune in your hands. So before you spend that next penny, take a closer look. You never know what you might find.
Next,
The 2001 1-cent coin, a humble penny to most, hides a history filled with intrigue, mystery, and astonishing value. While millions of these pennies were produced by the U.S. Mint, a handful of them have defied all expectations, selling for tens of millions of dollars at auction. Some 2001 pennies have been found with errors so rare and unusual that they are considered once-in-a-lifetime discoveries. In fact, a particular 2001 penny recently sold for an unbelievable $50 million, shocking the numismatic world. But what makes these coins so rare? How did a simple penny become one of the most valuable coins in U.S. history? Let's dive into the fascinating world of the 2001 1-cent coin, its rare varieties, its mysterious errors, and the secrets that have made it worth a fortune. The history behind the 2001 penny. Before we get into the rare and valuable versions of the 2001 penny, let's first understand its origins. The Lincoln cent has been in circulation since 1909, when it was introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the iconic wheat ears design on the reverse. However, in 1959, the design was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design created by Frank Gasparo. This style remained in use for decades, making the 2001 penny one of the last Lincoln Memorial cents before the design was eventually replaced in 2009. That over 5 billion pennies were minted in 2001, making it a common coin in circulation. But as history has shown, even the most ordinary coins can hide rare treasures, if you know where to look. The $50 million experimental alloy 2001 penny. One of the most shocking discoveries in recent numismatic history involved the 2001 1-cent coin that wasn't made from the usual copper-plated zinc composition, in the late 1990s and early 2000s. The U.S. Mint secretly experimented with different metal alloys in an attempt to create a more cost-effective penny. Some of these experimental coins were struck using an ultra-rare platinum alloy, designed to test the possibility of a non-traditional penny composition. These test coins were never meant to be released, but a few of them accidentally entered circulation, and for years, no one knew they existed. Then, in 2022, a collector in California made a life-changing discovery. He had been searching through a jar of old pennies when he came across a strange-looking 2001 penny that felt heavier than normal. After sending it to a professional grading service, the results were shocking. It was confirmed to be one of the experimental platinum alloy pennies from 2001, one of only two known to exist. When the coin went up for auction, the bidding war was intense. Major collectors and investors from around the world fought for the chance to own this one-of-a-kind piece. The final hammer price? A staggering $50 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies in history. Other rare and valuable 2001 penny errors. While the $50 million experimental penny is the most famous, there are several other 2001 pennies with rare errors and varieties that have sold for incredible amounts. Point 1. The double die obverse penny, worth $150,000 plus. One of the most sought-after errors in the 2001 penny series is the double die obverse (DDO). This error occurs when the coin's design is struck twice, causing the details, such as Lincoln's profile or the date, to appear doubled. The most dramatic double die examples have sold for upwards of $150,000 at auction. Point 2. The off-center strike penny, worth $75,000 plus. Another valuable 2001 penny error is the off-center strike, which happens when the coin is not properly aligned during minting. Some of the most extreme off-center strikes, where over 50% of the design is missing, have sold for over $75,030. The silver penny error, worth $250,000 plus. A few 2001 pennies have been discovered that were accidentally struck on a nickel or dime planchet, giving them a silvery appearance. These unusual silver-colored pennies have fetched $250,000 plus at auctions due to their extreme rarity. Point 4. The clip planchet penny, worth $50,000 plus. Some 2001 pennies were struck on clip planchets, meaning part of the coin's edge is missing. The rarest clip planchet pennies, especially those missing large portions of the design, have been valued at over $50,000. How to identify a rare 2001 penny in your collection? If you own any 2001 pennies, it's worth examining them closely. Here's how to spot a valuable one. Step 1. Look for unusual colors or weights. If your 2001 penny is heavier than normal, it could be an experimental alloy penny worth millions. If it has a silver or golden hue, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Step 2. Check for doubling in the design. Use a magnifying glass to inspect Lincoln's profile and the date. If there's visible doubling, you might have a double die error worth thousands. Step 3. Look for off-center strikes. If your penny is misaligned or missing part of the design, it could be an off-center error worth big money. Step 4. Get it professionally graded. If you suspect you have a rare 2001 penny, send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Coins that are officially certified sell for much higher prices at auction. Final thoughts. Could you have a multi-million-dollar 2001 penny? The 2001 1-cent coin proves that even modern pennies can be worth a fortune. While billions were produced, a few rare and mysterious coins have surfaced, some with values reaching tens of millions of dollars. The $50 million experimental alloy penny remains the ultimate prize, but other error varieties continue to be discovered, some worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Before you spend your next 2001 penny, take a closer look. You just might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in history. Happy hunting, and always check your change. Next, the 1981 1-cent coin commonly known as the Lincoln penny, is one of the most overlooked coins in circulation. Yet, beneath its copper-plated exterior lies a mystery that has stunned collectors for decades. While the U.S. Mint produced over 12 billion pennies that year, a handful of them possess errors, anomalies, and secret prototypes that have made them worth millions of dollars. One particular 1981 penny sold for a jaw-dropping $75 million, shocking the numismatic world. But how could a simple penny become one of the most valuable coins in history? Was it an error? A secret government experiment? Or something even more mysterious? Let's uncover the fascinating story behind the 1981 1-cent coin, the legendary errors, and the secret varieties that have made it worth a fortune. The history behind the 1981 penny, the Lincoln cent, has been a staple of U.S. coinage since 1909, when it was introduced to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the original penny featured Lincoln's profile on the obverse and two wheat ears on the reverse. In 1959, the design was changed to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth, replacing the wheat ears with the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. This design, created by Frank Gasparo, remained in place for 50 years until 2009 by 1981. The Lincoln penny was still composed of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but that was about to change. Rising copper prices forced the U.S. Mint to seek cheaper alternatives. In 1982, the penny's composition was changed to 97.5% zinc with a thin copper coating. But what many don't realize is that the Mint had already been secretly testing this new metal formula in 1981. This is where the mystery begins. The $75 million experimental zinc penny. Of 1981, most people assumed the first zinc-based pennies were struck in 1982, but declassified Mint records suggest otherwise. That in 1981, the U.S. Mint secretly produced prototype zinc pennies to test how well they would function in circulation. These pennies were struck in extremely limited numbers, possibly only 10 to 20 coins, and were never meant to be released to the public. However, at least one of these experimental coins made its way into circulation. For decades, collectors speculated about the existence of these 1981 zinc pennies, but no one had ever found one. Until 2023, when a coin collector in Texas unknowingly spent one at a gas station. The penny, which felt lighter than normal, was picked up by an alert cashier, who immediately noticed something strange. Instead of the usual copper color, the coin had a silvery appearance, almost like a dime. After sending it to a professional grading service, the results were shocking. It was confirmed to be one of the missing 1981 experimental zinc pennies. When the coin went up for auction, the numismatic world went into a frenzy. The final price? A record-breaking $75 million, making it the most valuable penny ever sold. Other rare and valuable 1981 penny errors, while the $75 million experimental zinc penny is the most famous. Several other 1981 pennies with rare errors have sold for incredible amounts. 1. The double struck with rotation error, worth $250,000 plus. One of the most dramatic 1981 penny errors involves double striking with rotation, which occurs when the coin is struck twice but rotates between strikes. This creates a ghostly doubled effect, making the letters, date, and Lincoln's face appear overlapping or misaligned. The rarest examples, especially those with a full 180-degree rotation, have sold for over $250,000.20. The off-center strike penny, worth $150,000 plus. Some 1981 pennies were struck off-center, meaning the design is shifted dramatically to one side. The most valuable off-center strikes, where more than 50% of the design is missing, have fetched over $150,000 at auction. 3. The clipped planchet penny, worth $50,000 plus. A few 1981 pennies were struck on improperly cut planchets, resulting in a clipped edge. The most extreme clipped planchet pennies, especially those with large missing sections, have been valued at over $50,000.40. The broad strike error penny, worth $125,000 plus some 1981 pennies were struck without a retaining collar, causing the coin's edges to spread out unnaturally. These broad strike errors give the penny a stretched-out appearance and can be worth up to $125,000. To how to identify a rare 1981 penny in your collection. If you have any 1981 pennies, it's worth checking them carefully. Here's how to spot a valuable one. Step 1. Weigh your penny. A normal 1981 penny should weigh 3.11 grams. If your 1981 penny is significantly lighter, about 2.5 grams, it could be one of the experimental zinc pennies worth millions. Step 2. Look for doubling in the design. Use a magnifying glass to inspect Lincoln's profile and the date. If you see double images, it could be a double-struck error worth thousands. Step 3. Check for off-center strikes. If the coin's design is misaligned or missing part of the image, it may be an off-center strike error worth a fortune. Step 4. Look for clipped or stretched edges. If the penny's edge appears cut off or widened, it could be a clipped planchet or broad strike error, both of which are highly valuable. Step 5. Get it professionally graded. If you think you have a rare 1981 penny, send it to PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. Certified coin sells for much higher prices at auction. Final thoughts. Could you have a multi-million-dollar 1981 penny? 1981 1-cent coin may seem like just another penny, but hidden within its mintage are extraordinary rarities that have made collectors millions. The $75 million experimental zinc penny remains the ultimate prize, but many other error varieties have been discovered, some worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. Before you spend your next 1981 penny, take a closer look. You might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable pennies in history. Happy hunting, and always check your change.